Numbers. We go to Steve Kornacki at the big board. Steve, what do you think is most important for us to understand at this point in the night, just after 6 p.m. Eastern?
Yeah, I think there are two things. My answer to your question will be there's two things. But I want to take you through both of them because we're getting vote updates in Georgia and Pennsylvania. And let's just give some clarity to what we're looking at here. And first of all, in Georgia, Donald Trump's lead fell in the last hour under 10,000 votes against Biden. The big thing here that happened was Fulton County, where Atlanta is. We got pretty much their final votes reported out. It brought that Trump lead under 10,000. Still more votes here to come. Let me show you where in Georgia right now. The bubbles represent the outstanding vote. Now, some of these areas here are heavily Democratic. For instance, I can show you Clayton County. Look at this. Joe Biden's winning at Atlanta Metro here. Joe Biden's winning it with 85% of the vote. And we think there are still something on the order of 7,500 mail ballots to come out of there. So there's opportunities here in a place like Clayton County, in a place like DeKalb, Gwinnett. There are some here's the big one, too, by the way. Chatham County, where Savannah is. There are some obvious opportunities here for Joe Biden to gobble up major chunks of votes here and potentially overtake Trump. There are some Republican and Trump-friendly areas here that also have votes. You could see a circle here. You could see a circle here. And the one thing I would just point out that we've been seeing in Georgia that's a little bit different than in Pennsylvania, which I'm going to talk about in a second. In Georgia, you do have the disparity there where the mail-in votes are more friendly to Biden than the same day. So these mail-in votes are more friendly to Biden. But it's not on the scale of what we're seeing. They're just gulfs, universes, worlds apart in Pennsylvania. What I'm trying to say is Trump may do well in some of these counties with outstanding mail vote in Georgia. And so there could be an opportunity for him to offset potential Biden gains. And so when you start to look at that statewide picture here in terms of what's left, in terms of what Biden's trying to overcome, again, a little bit less than 10,000, that could be tight. That could land in a very tight place. And also that could land well within that 0.5 percentage recount zone. It's a recount that a candidate could request if it's within 0.5%. So I think there's a little bit of a complicated picture in Georgia. I want to show you Pennsylvania now, because what's happening here, and you can see Trump's lead now has fallen to 78,000. It was over 90,000, I think, about 30 minutes ago. And what happened here was we just got a big report of absentee votes, of mail votes, and it's from Cumberland County. And I actually think Cumberland County tells the story of what's happening all across Pennsylvania right now. This is a Trump county. Trump leads Joe Biden overall in this county by 12 points, you can see. But what we just got reported out were 30,000 absentee ballots. And Joe Biden, I want to make sure I got the number right here. Joe Biden won them with 69% of the vote. Oh. You can read that. This is what's the scale of difference in Pennsylvania. I can't underscore this enough. Between what we see in terms of the results of the mail votes and what we see in terms of the results of the election day, there's massive difference between the two here. And that's what's now happening. On election night, you got those election day votes tallied up right away, and it's why Trump jumped to such a huge lead, seemingly, in Pennsylvania. Meanwhile, in counties like Cumberland, the absentee ballots, the mail ballots, just sat there. And only now are we finding out how they voted. And Democrats, Biden supporters, were much more likely to use the absentee ballot, the mail ballot, than Republicans were. And so this is the story in Pennsylvania. On a sort of a normal election night, all right, I would be telling you like, oh, Cumberland County, outstanding votes. There's a chance for Trump to make up ground. There's a chance for Trump to gain votes. That's not happening here. Everywhere there is outstanding mail vote in Pennsylvania, Biden's winning it. The only question is by how much. And he's not just winning it. Again, he's winning it by very wide margins. It ranges from, as I say, 69% of the mail-in vote. He just won that in a Republican county. Now, take a look in Philadelphia. Let me see if I can move this over to Philadelphia. I have to unselect that to do it. Okay, Philadelphia, Biden is winning the mail-in votes here at a 90% rate. So in the Democratic area, he's getting like 90%. In a Republican area, he's getting close to 70%, but he's winning it overwhelmingly everywhere. Now, what's left here? As you can see, what Biden's trying to overcome is a 78,000 vote gap statewide. In Philadelphia, we think there's probably about 80,000 votes left just there. If Biden's winning these at a 90% clip, you could see very quickly he could erase, let me get the statewide number there, he could erase just about all of that Trump statewide lead from Philadelphia. Now, Philadelphia has been doing these, in increments. We're getting 10,000 votes here. A couple hours later, we're getting 10,000 more votes reported out. They say it's because their processing can only handle so many ballots per hour. That's why there's a protracted delay here. But if you see that number that looks to be left there, about 80,000 or so, that alone could pretty much close the gap. And then I haven't even gotten into, think about the dynamic I just took you through here that we saw. You see that in other counties, too. Lehigh County. I think we still have about 25,000 mail ballots left in Lehigh County. Joe Biden won what was reported out today there with 70% in Lehigh County. So, again, that's a big batch of votes. The county itself is competitive, but the mail ballots are overwhelmingly Biden. Look at Erie County. Let me go out here. 49.5 to 49.1. That's the overall result in Erie County. The mail-in ballots, however, 69% for Joe Biden. So you're just seeing this in county after county. So everywhere you see a dot here of any kind of size is where we have outstanding mail vote. It's where we have outstanding absentee vote. And I haven't found one of these yet where that's meant more votes for Donald Trump. They just consistently mean more votes for Joe Biden. So you got and by the way, I don't know, take a close look here at Philadelphia. If I call that back up there, I'm trying to just get this thing off the screen so you can see it. There are bubbles within bubbles here. See, there's Philadelphia is the big bubble, but then there's Delaware County right outside Philadelphia. It's already a Biden county. So if he's winning the overall vote with 62, you can imagine the mail-in vote is going to be. You got votes still in Bucks County. You got pockets of vote all over the place, and they are all going to Biden, it appears. And so the opportunity for Joe Biden, I did this contrast with Georgia and Pennsylvania for a reason. In Georgia, I can see potential trade-offs. Trump gains votes here, Biden gains votes here. Who ends up ahead? Let's see. In Pennsylvania, you just see opportunity after opportunity for Biden to gain. You see hundreds of thousands of votes that are still out and a Trump lead that's now just sitting at 78,000 statewide.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.